That ugly, badly made girl, she doesn't look like me at all. She's not Mike in any way, right? My husband and Mill only favor her well-behaved son, saying so. They tore up everything I have prepared for my daughter's high school entrance as soon as she finished middle school. I couldn't take it anymore, and I ran away with my son, my daughter, the three of us. My name is Haley. Living with my husband and children, just an ordinary 35-year-old housewife. My son, Brooks, had a cute appearance with clear eyes and nose from an early age, and was often mistaken for a girl, even though I, as a parent, would say so myself. My friends often said, "You should get Brooks into that talent agency." He was also kind, gentle, and very smart. By the time he was 3 years old, he was already able to converse normally with adults. My daughter Alia, on the other hand, is without a doubt the cutest girl in the world to me as her mother. But she was far from what is commonly referred to as a pretty girl in appearance. She was chubby, with plump cheeks and narrow single-lidded eyes, and her curly hair was always a mess. She grew slowly, her speech was slow, and she seemed to have difficulty with physical exercise. Still, I loved both my kids more than anything, and was happy for them to grow at their own pace. However, there was someone who didn't think well of my daughter. My husband adored Brooks. When he came home from work, he only paid attention to Brooks. When our daughter Alia desperately tries to get her daddy's attention and wants her to play with him too, he harshly says to her, "Don't flatter me, you're disgusting." Whenever this happened, Brooks would say, "I want to play with my sister, let's all play together." But my husband would reply, "Don't play with your sister. Stupidity is contagious," and would only let Brooks sit on his lap. Brooks would sit uncomfortably on his happy father's lap. Being clever, I'm sure he understands the meaning of all my husband's outbursts against his sister. Mill also doted on Brooks while being cruel to Alia. My husband's family owned a store. My husband's father has already passed away, and my husband is supposed to be the successor in the future, so we visit my in-laws once a week, and every time we go, she says, "Oh, Haley and Alia came too. It would have been better if it was just my son and Brooke." She makes a disapproving face. She says I don't have to come, but my Mill treats me like a slave, so if I don't show up, she calls and sarcastically tells me not to show up. I didn't want to visit my in-laws, but my husband forced me to help with chores, so I had no choice. That day, and usually, Mill said she would take Brooks and Alia to the department store and park by train. Alia was happy to play with Grandma, but I had a bad feeling. But, constrained by the chores imposed on me, I sent them off with a somewhat uneasy feeling. In the evening, Mill came back carrying a tired Brooks. "Ah, he's gotten so heavy. Brooks has grown so much," she happily said. But there was no sign of Alia. "Mill, where is Alia?" I asked, fearing the worst. Mill replied nonchalantly, "I don't know. They both seemed sleepy. I cannot carry both of them, so I carried Brooke on my back and told Alia to walk by herself and follow me," she said without remorse. I felt the blood drain from my body. I immediately put on my shoes and ran to the station as fast as I could. It's unbelievable that would leave such a small child behind. Praying for my daughter's safety, I dashed into the police station at the station. "Mommy." At that moment, I heard crying, and Alia jumped into my arms. I felt all my strength leave me. The police officer said, "It's good you're here. Are you this child's mother?" She was found crying at the station. "You shouldn't take your eyes off small children." He said this and then told my daughter, "I'm glad your mother came to pick you up," and patted her head. I bowed repeatedly to the officer, held Alia's hand firmly, and we started our way home. On the way, Alia spoke in halting words. Alia was sleepy. I fell asleep on the bench because Grandma said I could sleep at the station. When I woke up, no one was there, and I cried. "I'm sorry. Are you mad?" "I'm not mad, I'm sorry you were scared." I hugged Alia tightly as she spoke, watching my expression. When we got back to the in-laws, Mill and my husband sighed upon seeing Alia. "Oh, you found her." My husband said this regretfully, and I couldn't help but yell, "Do you even care what happens to your own child?" My husband showed no remorse, and said something outrageous in return. "I don't care what happens to her." That ugly, badly made girl, she doesn't look like me at all. She's not Mike in any way, right? You probably had her with some other man and are trying to pass her off as mine, but that won't fly." Hearing this, my Mill laughed and said, "I wouldn't have minded if you hadn't found that child, who I don't even know where she came from." And left. "I have not cheated. This child is genuinely yours. Do you have any proof of infidelity?" I protested, but was only met with scorn. "The very fact that she looks nothing like me and is incompetent is proof enough of your infidelity." After that, my daughter and I stopped going to the in-laws. No matter how much my husband scolded or how much Mill taunted over the phone, I endured it all to protect Alia. Brooks was aware of the treatment we were receiving from my husband and Mill. If I say I won't go either, it'll put my grandma in a bad mood. "I'll be fine on my own, I'll go. Don't worry about anything, Mom and Alia." Brooks said this and patted Alia's head. Despite feeling guilty, my daughter and I stayed home. Brooks is really a kind child. Dealing with a fickle Mill must have been hard, but he managed well with his inherent cheerfulness and friendliness. I thought about divorce many times, but as a housewife with no qualifications, I couldn't imagine supporting Brooks and Alia on my own, so I just endured this life. Thus, my daughter and I effectively cut ties with the in-laws for several years. Brooks had already become a working adult, and Alia was about to enter high school next year. She was looking forward to high school life, with her new uniform, bag, and textbooks ready for the spring. My husband's behavior towards Alia was still the same, but we no longer cared. "As long as I have my brother and Mom on my side, that's enough," Alia would say with a smile, which always hurt my heart. Still, I felt hopeful about the new life Alia was looking forward to. However, an incident occurred. My husband saw Alia's new uniform and textbooks and exploded in anger. "What is this? You think you're going to high school? I've raised you, even though you're not my own child. You should start working as soon as you finish middle school. Pay back all the money that's been spent on you. Throw these things away now." He screamed as he ripped the textbooks and tore the uniform, throwing them into the muddy yard after days of rain. "I'll have my mom preach to you, too." Then my husband called my in-laws. Mill, as if she had been waiting, came right over. "You think you can go to high school on my son's dime? Don't be ridiculous. You should be grateful we even let you finish middle school. Start working as soon as you graduate. Your salary goes all to us. Haley, you should be thankful we've supported a child you had from an affair this far." Mill said this gleefully. "I don't care about you and your ill-advised daughter. I care more about my son, who will be my heir. You are both so incompetent and ugly. You only have a bad influence on my son. Get out." While picking up the uniforms and textbooks thrown out into the yard, Alia and I listened to the verbal abuses from my husband and Mill. We were both drenched from the rain, with water dripping down our faces. Now, it was hard to tell whether our faces was messed up from the raindrops or tears. Now that Brooks had moved out and was living separately, there was no one to stop them. Alia and I looked at each other. We both understood, without saying a word, that there was no reason to stay in this house anymore. After that, we packed the bare essentials and left the house. My husband and Mill easily agreed to a divorce, glad to be rid of us. With nowhere else to go, we turned to Brooks. He was surprised to see us soiled, but quickly grasped the situation and let us in. Brooks offered us a shower and clothes and made us some warm drinks. After settling down, we began to discuss our future. "I just got a call from Dad. He told me that he divorced you, so if you two come over to our house, don't let them in. They are strangers now. He's also telling me to quit my job immediately and take over the store, but I have no intention of doing that. I hate him and Grandma." Hearing Brooks' words made my heart ache. I thought about how hard it must have been for him, caught between us and his grandparents since he was young. I was thinking I'd endure it as long as Dad and Mom were together, and Alia was at that house. But now, that's no longer necessary, right? Brooks said with a grin. "Alia, would you mind changing school districts? I'm being transferred to a branch in a different state soon. Let's all move there together. Of course, let's keep it secret from Dad and Grandma. I hope that store shuts down." Brooks spoke so cheerfully that Aliyah exclaimed, "Of course I'll go," and was very excited. Feeling guilty for always relying on Brooks, I agreed that following him was the best course of action. Everything flowed smoothly from there. A few weeks later, we had started a new life in a new place. Aliyah, in fact, was very capable, something my husband and Mil never knew. She was just a late bloomer. She excelled in exams and managed to get accepted into a prestigious high school in our new town. Aliyah and I had our cell phones disconnected, so there was no contact with my husband and Mil. We kept Brooks reachable to keep an eye on their actions. If we lose contact with them at all, they may desperately search for us, so Brooks suggested that it would be better to have a place where we can vent. Another 10 years have passed since then. Aliyah has grown up, Brooks has a decent position at his company, and we all live separately. Today is a rare day for a family dinner. I dressed up a bit more than usual and waited at the meeting place for them. Suddenly, Haley. Is that you, Haley? I heard a voice call out. It really is Haley. There was my ex-husband, all thinning hair and fat as a Dharma doll. And my ex-Mil, with pure white hair, bent over, looking like a witch from a story. Their appearance was so bizarre that people around them seemed to avoid them. Haley, where have you been for the last 10 years? We were worried. Are you mad because I and Mom said Aliyah was a child from an affair? I'll forgive you for cheating, just come back. I haven't seen Aliyah and Brooks in so long, where are my children? My ex-husband ranted, frothing at the mouth, like a crab, although he looked more like a Dharma. Yay. I'll forgive everything that's happened, just come back. Things are really tough for us right now. Mil shouted in a raspy voice. Her voice was truly like that of a real witch. During this unexpected reunion after 10 years, I observed them coolly, utterly unmoved. Suddenly, Mom. Voices called out, Mom, what's happening? There stood a man with the refreshing look of a successful businessman, and a woman in a cute dress, slender and elegant. Pointing at them, my ex-husband and ex-Mil were agape, unable to close their mouths. What could it be? Brooks and Aliyah. Yes, but Dad, Grandma, why are you here? Brooks responded nonchalantly. Of course, that's right. Well, both of you have turned out so well. Aliyah, I mistook you for some young lady from a good family. You've changed so much. That's my child, turned out to be beautiful. I wish I could have seen Aliyah grow up close. I never imagined she'd turn into such a beautiful young lady. Ignoring Brooks's question, they both continued talking at will. Yes, perhaps because Aliyah moved away and was free from the stress from her father and Mil, or because she started to engage more in school activities in high school. Her once chubby face had slimmed down, and her eyes, once hidden by fat, now had distinct facial features. Whether it was a change during puberty or not, her previously frizzy hair had turned into nice wavy hair. Not just a parent's wishful thinking, but Aliyah now looked as charming as member of famous girls' idol group. Well, since Brooks was handsome, Aliyah obviously had the potential to be beautiful too. Both were excellent, now working in big companies. They are my pride, always thinking of their mother. Since the family's together after 10 years, let's go for a meal. Dad is short on cash, so Brooke and Aliyah will treat us, right? I've raised you this far, and I'm looking forward to your filial piety from now on. My ex-husband said, placing his hand on Aliyah's shoulder. However, she briskly brushed his hand off. Don't touch me, it's disgusting. I've been told my whole life that I was a child from an affair. I don't have a father. I don't remember being raised by you. Who are you? Aliyah, wearing heels, was taller than my ex-husband. She looked down on him with a cold gaze. Dad, no, I don't even want to call you Dad anymore. You haven't forgotten what you did to Mom and Aliyah, have you? We've been keeping in touch just barely, but that's over now. Today, we're completely cutting ties. Brooks said this flatly, and my ex-husband was momentarily stunned but quickly began to rage. What kind of way is that to talk to a parent? Aliyah, you come back home right now and marry the son of the big company owner next door to build a connection with our store. Brooks, you come back and revive the store. Haley, apologize for everything on your knees and devote your life to me and Mom. Then I'll forgive you." My ex-husband exploded with fury. Seeing this, Brooks and Alia and I exchanged looks and couldn't help but burst out laughing. "I don't need your forgiveness. Why do you think we want to be forgiven by you? How did you even come to that conclusion? Besides, I'm getting married soon, so I can't marry that son of a big company you mentioned. Sorry. I'm also about to start my own business, so I can't take over the family store. Oh, what a pity. It's a shame that such an old store is going to close down. Such a shame." Both were chuckling. My ex-husband wore a look of despair. "You're coming back, right, Haley?" His pleading gaze was unsettling. "Why would I return? Who would willingly go back to being a slave? Besides, I'm already remarried, so coming back is not an option." "Oh, such a pity." I flaunted the shining ring on my left ring finger. "What? You remarried? Without telling me, with someone else? I won't accept this. I don't accept this." My ex-husband tried to snatch the ring from my finger. Brooks hurried to intervene, but before he could, another man stepped between my ex-husband and me. "Is there something you need from my wife? Please don't be violent." My ex-husband felt intimidated by his confident demeanor. "Who are you?" he yelled with all the bluster he could muster. "I am Haley's husband. Haley and you were divorced 10 years ago. I am the lawyer who assisted with that procedure, so I am well aware of it." "A lawyer?" My ex-husband, weak to authority, was noticeably shaken by the man claiming to be a lawyer. "Yes, the lawyer who helped me during the divorce, and I got along well over various discussions and eventually started dating. And we married a few years ago." My ex-husband was frothing at the mouth, his face turning red. Whether he looked more like a crab or a dharma. What does it matter if he's a lawyer? Just because he earns a bit more money doesn't mean he can act all high and mighty. Everyone should do as I say. Haley is my wife, and Brooks and Ollie are my children. You're in the way. Larg. For some reason, he charged with his huge body at my husband like a bull. However, my husband dodged him effortlessly. What? Larg. The momentum carried my ex-husband forward, and unable to stop, he tumbled down, rolling away pathetically while emitting a pitiful voice. "No, my son." My ex-mil screamed in agony. We were shocked and watched anxiously to see if my ex-husband was okay when, lying on his back, he shouted, "I'd still forgive you now," after tumbling over. Fortunately, he seemed to have no serious injuries, but it appears the fall was too damaging for him to get back up quickly. As I was contemplating what to do next, my husband said, "I've called an ambulance, so he should be fine. Let's leave the rest to them." Alia was fuming, too kind. We should have just left him there. Even her angry face was adorable. "By the way, we're about to miss our reservation at the restaurant. Shouldn't we head out soon?" Brooks prompted us. Right, today was a special day for a family meal. My husband said, "Let's go, it's okay," and embraced me as we left. We could hear my ex-husband and ex-mil shouting from behind, but I was not afraid anymore. Few months later, I heard that my ex-husband's store that was running on the edge has finally gone bankrupt. It seems my husband heard from a real estate acquaintance. It's surprising how they managed to hold on for 10 years after we left. My ex-husband had become reclusive at home due to the injury from the fall, leaving everything, including work, to my ex-mil. To pay off the debt incurred from closing the store, my ex-mil was working desperately despite her old age. Hearing about their recent situations, I couldn't help but marvel at the concept of karma, where bad deeds eventually return to the doer. On a Sunday afternoon, I was trying on the dress I would wear to Alia's wedding, pulling it out from the dresser. "Looks good, suits you. Which suit should I wear? But I'm so happy I can attend as Alia's father." Turning to these words, there was my husband, holding 2 suits, smiling shyly.